The crime that shocked the nation scene opens with flashing police lights reflecting off the wet pavement. Sirens wail in the distance as officers rush through the prison gates, their weapons drawn. The camera moves past a group of guards shouting orders, their faces tense with panic. A stretcher is wheeled out, a motionless body covered by a white sheet, cut to a crime scene inside the prison. Bloodstains on the cold concrete floor. A discarded police badge lies nearby. The surveillance camera above the hallway blinks, its feed severed news broadcast clips take over the screen. A serious-looking news anchor appears, her expression grim. News anchor breaking news tonight. An 18-year-old inmate has escaped from Maplewood State Prison in what authorities are calling a highly coordinated and brutal attack. The escapee, Nathan Carter, is now the subject of a massive statewide manhunt after allegedly killing a police officer during his breakout. The screen shifts to CCTV footage. A grainy black and white clip shows Nathan Carter in his prison cell just hours before the escape. He sits still, staring at the wall, his hands clasped together. The next clip is chaotic. Guards running, red warning lights flashing, and a shadowy figure sprinting down a corridor. News anchor, voiceover continues as images flash on the screen. The victim, Officer Daniel Owens, was a 15-year veteran of the force. Authorities confirm that he was shot multiple times with his own firearm. Officials are now investigating how Carter gained access to the weapon and managed to bypass security cut to a press conference. A uniformed police chief stands behind a podium, reporters shouting questions at him. Police chief, Nathan Carter is considered armed and extremely dangerous. We urge the public not to approach him and to contact law enforcement immediately if they have any information on his whereabouts. A blurry gas station security camera captures a hooded figure matching Carter's description, walking alone on a deserted highway. The timestamp reads 3:27 a.m. The screen fades to black. The hum of police radio chatter is heard in the background. A final image appears, a wanted poster with Nathan Carter's face and the bold red words, "Wanted, armed and dangerous, inside the prison." The build-up to the murder. The scene opens inside Maplewood State Prison, a high-security facility surrounded by towering fences topped with razor wire. The camera moves through the dimly lit corridors, past rows of metal-barred cells, where inmates sit in silence or talk in hushed voices. Nathan Carter had arrived at Maplewood a year earlier. At just 18, he was one of the youngest inmates in the facility, but his reputation had already made him infamous. He had been sentenced to 12 years for armed robbery and aggravated assault after a convenience store holdup turned violent. Witnesses recalled how he fired a warning shot at the store clerk before escaping with cash. The bullet missed, but it was enough to get him locked away in an adult prison instead of a juvenile facility. Inside prison, Nathan wasn't like the other hot-tempered inmates. He was quiet, observant, never starting fights, but never backing down either. Guards noted that he mostly kept to himself, avoiding gang affiliations and unnecessary confrontations. However, fellow inmates whispered about his intelligence. He watched everything, remembered routines, and seemed to always be calculating something. Then, there was Officer Daniel Owens, the veteran prison guard assigned to Nathan's block. Owens had a reputation for being strict, never bending the rules, and showing no sympathy for inmates. He had confronted Nathan multiple times, issuing warnings for minor infractions. Some inmates believed Owens had a personal grudge against Nathan, constantly provoking him, while others thought Nathan was simply another prisoner in Owens's long career of hardened criminals. The motive behind the murder remained unclear, but something had triggered it. Had Owens pushed Nathan too far? Or had Nathan planned this from the beginning? The biggest question was, how did Nathan get a weapon? Investigators later speculated that he overpowered a guard during a routine cell check, disarming him in a swift, calculated attack. Others believed he had managed to smuggle in a small makeshift blade, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. On the night of the murder, the prison's routine played out as usual until it didn't. Within minutes, alarms blared, blood stained the cold prison floor, and Nathan Carter was nowhere to be found. The Great Escape. How did he pull it off? The scene opens with flashing red alarm lights and the echo of sirens. Guards rush through the prison corridors, shouting commands. The camera pans to an empty cell. Nathan Carter's bunk is untouched, his prison uniform left behind. He's gone. Nathan Carter's escape wasn't a desperate, last-minute attempt. It was meticulously planned, every move calculated, every detail accounted for. For months, he had observed the guards' routines, the shift changes, and the weak spots in the security system. His silence wasn't just isolation, it was strategy, step-by-step breakdown of the escape plan. The setup. Nathan waited until lockdown hours, when most guards were either at their posts or on break, limiting movement. He also timed it to a stormy night, using the weather as cover, disarming the guard. Prison officials believe that Nathan overpowered Officer Daniel Owens during a late-night cell check, taking his keys, radio, and weapon. The murder wasn't just revenge or rage, it was part of the escape bypassing security measures. With Owens's keys, Nathan unlocked his cell door and made his way to an unmonitored maintenance corridor, a blind spot he had noticed during cleaning duty weeks before. He used stolen guard attire to blend in and walked through restricted areas without immediate suspicion. Disabling the cameras, investigators later discovered that 2 surveillance cameras in Nathan's escape route had been disabled just minutes before his breakout. Either Nathan had tampered with them beforehand, or someone inside had helped him. Reaching the perimeter. Once out of the main cell block, Nathan used a maintenance hatch to access an underground tunnel leading to a back storage yard. This area was less guarded and provided a way out without crossing heavily monitored checkpoints. Scaling the fence. Inmates reported hearing a single gunshot, possibly Nathan firing at a pursuing guard. Moments later, motion sensors picked up movement along the outer fence, but by the time officers responded, he was gone. Did he have help? Nathan's escape seemed too perfect to be a solo act. Was a fellow inmate involved? Did a corrupt guard turn a blind eye? Or did someone from the outside create a distraction? What was certain was that Nathan Carter had vanished into the night, armed, dangerous, and one step ahead of the law. The hunt begins, authorities in panic mode scene opens with flashing police lights and officers swarming the streets. Helicopters hover above as search teams move through dense woods with K-9 units. A police dispatcher's voice crackles over the radio. Suspect is armed and extremely dangerous. All units, proceed with caution. The moment Nathan Carter's escape was discovered, chaos erupted inside Maplewood State Prison. Officers rushed to lock down the facility, conducting a head count and reviewing surveillance footage. But by the time they confirmed Carter's disappearance, he was already hours ahead of them. Immediate police response. Within minutes, state police were alerted, roadblocks were set up, and the FBI joined the investigation due to the murder of a law enforcement officer. Patrol cars flooded nearby highways, and checkpoints were established at bus stations, train depots, and airports. Authorities knew one thing. If Carter made it out of state, catching him would become nearly impossible nationwide manhunt and sightings. The search intensified as authorities combed through security footage from gas stations, ATMs, and traffic cameras. A blurry gas station surveillance video at 3:27 a.m. showed a hooded figure matching Carter's description walking along a deserted highway. A few hours later, a truck driver reported picking up a young man heading west. Fitting Carter's appearance, police raced to track leads, but Carter was always one step ahead. Over the next 48 hours, possible sightings were reported across multiple states, some real, some false alarms. Where could he be? Investigators developed several theories. Did he have outside help? Some believed Carter had arranged a getaway vehicle, allowing him to flee far from the initial search zone. Was he hiding in an abandoned building or rural area? Authorities searched barns, cabins, and train yards in case he was laying low. Could he have escaped? The country airports and border crossings were on high alert. If he had a fake ID or connections, he might already be in Mexico or Canada. Public fear and government pressure. As news spread, fear gripped the public. Schools in nearby towns canceled classes, and people locked their doors at night. Social media buzzed with theories, while politicians demanded answers from law enforcement. Nathan Carter wasn't just an escaped prisoner. He was a symbol of a broken system, and until he was caught, no one felt safe. Unanswered questions and the mystery. Deep in Scene opens with a dark, empty highway stretching into the distance. A streetlight flickers. The camera zooms in on a wanted poster fluttering in the wind, Nathan Carter's face staring back. Months have passed, yet he's still nowhere to be found. Nathan Carter's escape shocked the nation, but what's even more unbelievable is that, despite an intense manhunt, he hasn't been caught. How can an 18-year-old with no money, no known accomplices, and no connections vanish without a trace? Did he change his identity? Investigators now suspect that Carter may have altered his appearance. Witness reports have been inconsistent. Some say he shaved his head, others claim he dyed his hair. If he had access to fake identification, he could be living under a new name, blending into society undetected. Did he seek help from criminal networks? Or did he simply outthink the authorities' flaws in the system? Who is to blame? Carter's escape exposed major flaws in Maplewood State Prison's security. How did a teenager manage to overpower a guard, steal a weapon, and disable surveillance cameras? A full investigation revealed blind spots in security cameras that hadn't been fixed in months. Understaffed night shifts